What is the weirdest thing that society just accepts?
Celebrity endorsements. When you think about it, it's kind of weird that they're using their influence to get paid even more to get you to buy a product they likely don't use themselves.
Funeral prices. 15K to bury a body? These people are really just going to put that burden on the freshly mourning families? Ridiculous.
In my opinion, weirdest thing accepted by society is the pronunciation of Colonel.
Creating social media accounts for kids, infants.
Child beauty pageants, TV censoring, at least in the US. Brutal murder of a prostitute. The blood and violence is fine, but she has a boob out, censor the nipple.
Prostitution is super duper illegal. But not if you film it and share it with the rest of us. If an animal is terminally ill and suffering, we happily euthanize it. Yet, a terminally ill, suffering human does not have the option to choose to die with dignity?
It's weird to wear just underwear in public, but it's fine if it's swimwear.
We poop in perfectly clean water.
Spending a fortune on weddings.
We spend 1/3 of our lives unconscious.
The fact that we spend 5 out of 7 days doing stuff we don't like to afford enjoying the few days that are left.
In my state weed is very illegal, yet prescription painkillers get prescribed as if it's candy.
How a lot of younger underage people, especially in the UK, do drugs and drink a lot. It's strange to me how it's so widely accepted by my generation that you can literally find a year 7 with a bottle of Jack Daniels at your local park every night.
In the US, the huge gaps underneath bathroom stalls.
Working yourself to death. The whole concept of hard work is wrong. It ain't about hard work. It's about smart work. Work smarter, optimize your time, resources, skills, everything. Staying inside a cubicle for 8-10 hours just because you're working hard is not productive. It's weird how people tend to see this. I understand if an athlete, musician or perfecting your craft, you have to put in the work. After that, work smarter, not harder.
We rub paper between our butt cheeks until we can't see poo anymore and say that's clean enough. Nowhere else on our body would this be okay.
Stagnation of leadership. There's a tendency for societies to find a style of leadership and say this is the perfect way to lead and cannot go wrong. Other people should all adopt this too. And then wonder why corruption happens. Every societal structure succumbs to it eventually.
Society accepts sneezing but farting is taboo. Yet sneezing is potentially harmful, yet farting is completely harmless. How much alcohol people consume? It is accepted to such a degree that most people don't even see it as a drug, even though it is comparable to hard drugs, and how addictive it is and the effects on your health.
That success is measured by the ownership of things we don't really need.
The cult of happiness. The idea that the default state of healthy humans is happy. Happy is not a healthy thing to be every time. It's weird in the fact that nobody genuinely reflects on it.
Famous people can do anything.
The 40-plus hour work week and low minimum wage. Relics of a time when women were expected to be home while men worked to exhaustion. Minimum wage must keep pace with inflation and living costs. That was the very point of it when it was introduced. And we're just kidding ourselves if we say that every single company needs 40 hours worth of work every week from every employee.
You can smoke a certain planter and it's completely fine in one area, but if you travel a couple hours away and do it again, you can be thrown in gaol.
Pets. This dog just lives with you and you both accept it.
Makeup. I've always found it odd that women are expected to wear makeup on a daily basis. I've worked in jobs where women have been sent home for not wearing enough. Annie. I can show up at work hungover and looking like death, but if Karen isn't wearing makeup, she's improperly attired. Granted, I also understand a lot of people enjoy wearing makeup. Nothing against it at all, I just find it odd that it's a requirement a lot of the time.
Rumors online. Usually really messed up and people believe it on sight of the title.
We watch people beat each other unconscious for fun.
Fighting in school when we were younger was seen as bad and would result in punishment. However, once you're in a specific type of setting, you can get paid millions of dollars to literally knock someone out.
Food taboos are weird. We eat the unfertilized egg of a chicken and that's fine. Drinking milk from a cow's teat is also fine, except in Asia. Eating an insect is gross and disturbing, except in some parts of the world where it's normal. We eat babies and call it high cuisine, veal, lamb. Horse is fine in France, but taboo in the USA. The same with dogs and cats in China. Then there's religious restrictions on top of all that. About the only thing that's universal is that we don't eat other people. And even that wasn't universal until very, very recently. Stab holes in our ears to put shiny things in.
There are so many people working hard as their minimum wage jobs to make their millionaire bosses just a little bit richer. Those weird stickers people put on a dog's butthole to keep from seeing their anus.
That the blatant lies almost all companies use to sell products isn't considered false advertising. At least no one ever gets in trouble for it in the States.
That everyone has a right to breed, regardless of how much harm they could bring into their child's life.
When people commit really serious crimes, we lock them up in a building and just leave them there.
That we have to work our whole lives for effectively nothing.
A lot of things pertaining to lust. If something is religious, society can accept a lot. Starting with walking around with ash on your forehead.
Cops lying to you is okay, but you lying to the cops is a crime. WTF.
Cutting the skin off baby dicks.
Ignoring homeless people like they're invisible. Edit. I don't mean not giving them food, money, etc., but just in the most general contexts. You're more likely to say hello back to a person who looks prim and proper as opposed to a homeless person. Simple as that.
I'm standing in line with a dozen guys so that we can take turns rubbing our bare asses on the same piece of plastic.
That we don't label politicians who lie as liars, then mistrust them and vote them out of office.
Maybe not the weirdest, but red lights. It's 4 a.m., there are no cars. You can see there are no cars in both directions for over a mile. You still sit there waiting for 2 minutes for an inanimate object to tell you can leave.
Drinking milk from other animals.
Poverty, war and exploitation.
People being millionaires and even billionaires while others literally live in dirt and have trouble finding food for the day.
Praising someone without knowing the good and bad facts. I forgot what it's called. Some celebrity stuff, you know. We build houses, seal them against outside intrusion, sweep and mop away all of the dust and grime. And then we invite animals inside to sit on our furniture and sleep in our beds. That old people can be as shitty as they want just because they're old-fashioned.
That most parents nowadays let their 1+-year-olds play on the phone, tablet all day, and let their 6-year-olds have their own phones.
That people, women especially, rip, shave hair off of our bodies periodically despite it growing back each time. Like we've been conditioned as a society to find body hair on women gross, but fact is women are hairy. And somehow it's just the norm that women have to be hairless everywhere but on our heads. Weird.
Toddler beauty pageants.
The fact that you are considered a child the day before your 18th birthday but suddenly an adult the next day. This completely arbitrary date changes a ton in your life.
People's belief that if you're not contributing enough to society, you don't deserve healthcare, food, or housing.
The pageant world has incurred intense scrutiny for its sexualization of young girls, but the dance world is just as culpable. Little girls in provocative attire performing choreography that's so salacious you'd presume someone intended to titillate an audience rather than exhibit the beauty and elegance of movement. The imperious, coercive parents of the pageant world have their exact replicas in the dance world, but they can impose rigorous dance rehearsals and malign their child with absolute impunity. Pageants do receive society's contempt, and it's time dance shows normalizing the sexualization of young girls are equally denounced.
In America, I'd say the lack of paid leave. In England you get 28 days paid holiday every year, more elsewhere. Americans get nothing and treat that as normal. It's weird when politics and religious fucks come up with bizarre reasons to go and kill another group of people, and people that won't even profit from it go, yeah, wartime. Let's die for our glorious leader, or freedom or any other nonsense.
What isn't weird about society? We drive 10 miles to pick up a loaf of highly processed bread in a 3,000 pounds car to drive it back to your 2,500 square foot house heated with massive amounts of natural gas so we can plop down and watch shows about people doing that same sort of stuff radiated out through a giant network of fiber optic cables that we pay large amounts of money for monthly.
People spending all their time on phones and in front of screens. I'm 24 BTW, not a boomer. And I'm guilty of it too.
I think it's the fact that non-lawyers don't really have access to the law, and it's considered normal. There's no reason for the law, as well as the judicial process, forms to be so out of touch to non-lawyers. I got involved in a few lawsuits and I had to hire attorneys to advise me. Amazingly, a fair amount is common sense, once you know the procedure and forms. Given most, all states' mixed laws passed by legislature with case law, non-lawyers don't have access to what the laws are as practiced. This coupled on the fact that lawyers charge so much more than what people normally make, for example, they want $300 per hour, except a lot of people make $25 per hour, and that's gross, not take-home pay.
Woody Allen groomed a little girl and married her and nobody seems to care.
9/11 had a lot of shady cover-ups and people just accept the crazy stuff the news told us, and if anyone questions it, you're automatically a crazy conspiracy theorist.
Living in a society.
Gender reveal parties. Why the fuck do you expect me to have a party announcing my baby's genitals, you fucking weirdos?
How everyone are commenting the same over 5 times in hopes of imaginary points.
Cheating on your significant other.
Dads being weirdly protective of their daughter's virginity and threatening potential boyfriends instead of teaching their daughters and sons about safe sex and healthy relationships. People only care about themselves and not society as a whole. As long as they are doing okay, fuck everyone else, even when they are in positions of power.
The Federal Reserve banking system.
Working so many hours a day. What for? I don't know.
Celebrities in general. I like this person because I see their face a lot and other people like them. I better give them some of my money and things even though they already have more of both than I ever will.
This is especially insidious when it's stuff like the Kardashians and other Instagram celebrities using their platform to advertise those diet teas that are just laxatives or appetite suppressant lollipops. Like these ladies know damn well the majority of their audiences are young women in their teens and early 20s, and they also know damn well that is the group most susceptible to developing eating disorders, but they still promote these get skinny super quick in an unhealthy way products, even though they themselves probably don't use them and have multiple personal trainers, dietitians, chefs etc. on their payroll. I'd say the problem even extends further than just affecting the people who directly follow these influencers. To have people who are such a central part of popular culture, like, say, Kim Kardashian, promote taking laxatives to lose weight helps to normalize doing so in our culture as a whole. Are you telling me that Jennifer Aniston doesn't drink smart water?
This has annoyed me for years. The amount of celebrities endorsing products outside their field of expertise or experience is ridiculous. For example, Beckham https://n.wiki.org/wiki/hom_by_David_Beckham, has his own line of colognes. He's a footballer. What the hell does he know about fragrances? Should I also consult him about property and investments too? Of course, I can't blame them. It's the people buying the products that are to blame. But why do they do it? Because they want a little sliver of his success? I'd bet money he doesn't use his own products either.
I would like to point out that Shaq doesn't support or advertise for things he doesn't use himself. He's had the general car insurance since he was in college. And he knows the truth about Stevie Wonder.
I'll do it for a shovel and $100.
I really hope the funeral home industry is pardon me dying. Both my parents had the full treatment, death notice in the paper, embalming, 2 nights visitation, preacher, casket, everything. Not quite 15K, but close. Now my older cousins are starting to go. No funerals. Maybe couple weeks later, Have a celebration of life at a local establishment. Low-key, respectful, maybe a few $100.
Just throw me in the trash. Frank Reynolds, burying a body should not cost $15,000. It's like the wedding industry. The level of extravagance is up to the customer. A cheaper wedding can be had and so can a cheaper funeral. If someone doesn't want an expensive funeral, that's their choice. If they do, that's okay too. It's up to the customer. The funeral industry in the U.S. is regulated by the FTC and must provide an itemized price list upon request. You may pick services provided at your discretion. Most places in the U.S. only require a plot of land designated and a covering for the body. Cardboard is acceptable in some areas. You can bury a body on private land as long as you go through the proper legal loops. However, if one is going to buy a bronze casket, hold an extravagant service with a fleet of vehicles, bury in a cemetery with perpetual care, and buy a large granite monument, there will be a significant cost. Good luck and make wise decisions that are best for you and yours. My partner's granddad died and was buried about 20 years ago. When his grandma died last year, she had in her will that she wanted to be cremated, and her ashes buried in her husband's grave. We looked into the cemetery policy and were told that it would be £500 for permission to bury her ashes there, as it counts as reopening a grave. Cue my partner and his two cousins climbing over a cemetery wall with a large shovel and an urn at 3 a.m. to do the exact opposite of grave robbing. His grandma would have found it hilarious and would have approved of us dodging that absurd fee.
Hijacking this to say a few timely things. First, you don't have a will. Get one now. Even if you don't think your estate is worth anything, you will burden those you leave behind with probate. Secondly, hopefully you will donate your organs. Please talk to your loved ones about that now, so there is no confusion. Finally, fuck the death industry. My wife saw Carl Sanders' costume for Halloween. She thought it was some knockoff cause she thought it was spelled wrong, even pronounced the L. I quietly told her that it's spelled correctly and I wouldn't pronounce it that way out loud in public.
It's pronounced Cornell. It's an Ivy League school.
Is it just me, or do British people pronounce lieutenant as lieutenant?
Corpse, crops. Makes sense, right?
People do that? Why?
My parents have an Instagram account for our dog.
I wanted to do that for my eldest when she was born, and keep track of her as she grows up, pictures, memories of things we did, so when she was old enough I could just give her the details and her life was there. In the end, laziness got in the way.
Thank you for watching. We publish amazing Reddit stories every day. If you are new to this channel, please subscribe to keep the dog smiling.